Yeah.
Yeah, with these, that's where we are.
Okay, so I'm going to read on the top, starting with number Aleph, so we can figure out what we're talking about. Yisboyer Malchu Olam Nikudim. Ve'e Makomo B'Makumas Ak. So as Ak is a man, someplace around there is going to be located the Olam and Nikudim. Devoyer Inyan Olam Nikudim Mehem Bebechinas Ha'oros Hayotzim Derech Nikvei Anayim Da'adam Kadmon. V'yidach Gavar Bi'arno La'el. Ki Yesh Arba Bechinos. These Arba Bechinos, we pronounce them as they're all Havayos Miluyim of Havayos, which are Asmab. Now, all we really understand about Asmab is what it is. Now, they're Miluyim of different possibilities of how you could count this up. But what do they actually do for you? What does it mean? But anyway, yesh tanta. So you could also say there's an asmab of all the asmab, and there's also, he wants to say there's a tanta. But the reason why he wants to talk about tanta, he said because tanta is going to have a lot to do with where the second letter of the tanta is Nikudim. So Adam Kadmon, this Adam Kadmon, he says the Mochim. So right away, without really getting into it more deeply, Mochim are, the Mochim, what we have this word Mochim, is the Asmab. The Asmab are 4 different kinds of Mochim. So the Mochim of this Adam Kadmon, which is the Havaya, the Av, that's the first Havaya. Min Bechinas Aznaim Lamata, then go this from the very top of the Av would be from the Aznaim upwards, but from the Aznaim downwards, Ad Tishlum Siyum Adam Kadmon Azeh, Hu Bechinas Sag. That whole area is Sag. Now Sag is going to be a big time focus over here. Ad Siyum Araglaim Shalom. Amnam Ine Bechina Azeh, Hoy Betechidach Bekodim B'Mises Amalachim. This is the original Bechina before the Malachim died. Now, we don't know about the Malachim dying yet, but we're going, obviously, he's telling you. But Olam HaNikudim, and where did the death take place? The death takes place in an Olam, realizing that the word Olam is also the word Helem, which is a hidden world, which is where this death takes place. But after that, it transforms itself into 2 different aspects. In other words, originally it was Sag, or we talked about Av on the top, or this is the Sag the Av, or different kinds of Sag. But after the break, it's going to become Ma'uben. Mamakum Tibor, and where are they located? From the place of the Tibor Shalo ad Lamata B'Siyam Raglayim, until we get down below, until you get to the end of the feet. Commotion of Voyer Bezos Hashem, and we're going to look at this, and we'll look at number bet in the Tiv. Someone, I don't know anybody's name other than yours in the Kolel. I don't think I do. And I went there looking for, I knew I had the wrong phone number, and I went looking for you, got the right phone number, and somebody told me, he says, I look at the Tiv in Hanukkah, and he's got a tiv on prayer, which I'm not sure what that means. At any rate, but there's another person that's like to learn this a little bit. But I said, well, this is really one you got to learn. He said, it's too hard for me. Okay, so it could be. So this is really the point of the Shtalshus of the Cholama Bereisha the Akad ad Shar HaNikudim. So understand that we're coming towards us, let's say. Shara Nikudim is closer to us than Shara Kudim, and certainly closer to us, or be able to, in our perception, closer than Ak. Tzamsem kaviyachol as oirach l'tzadadim, v'nishar chalo reik agul kokador, we went through that. Niknas or ein sof mitzad echod, it enters in from, now we have the concept of a sad, because wherever it enters in, that's a place different from other places. Because it clothes itself inside of Ak. And B'sham Yotza Mizgala L'chutz Derek Gufa the Ak, and from there also for the body of Ak, light comes out. Gavarn is boyer. We've already said before. Let me turn the pages here. Let me see how we're doing here. Okay. Before Lael and Shartanta. One second. Was Bashar Tanta. Shekol or Kolula Me'arba Gavayos. Every light has within it an asmab. And the asmab, again, with all the miluyim, are the mochin. But you can also put the parallel idea about these. Every one of them are the tanta as an asmab. Asmab has a tanta, tanta has a tanta, and asmab has a masmab. Shehem bechinas tamim, nekudas, tagim, and osius. Arba bechinas elu yesh gam bepinimius ak. So these things are also in the side of ak. Behina bechina b'shona shehi shem av klali. Shehu keneged bechinas tamim. V'kolabo asmab. There's also an asmab da'av. There's an asmab da'av. So what would that be? That would be like different levels of miluyim within the big milui. So he says v'hiba bechinas mochin da'ak. This is our concept of the mochin da'ak. So again, this word mochin is a little bit elusive. So, but it's a big time word, and we're going to be working on it in other places. Oros elu yotze derech akar kafta da'ak. So these life, they go out to the skull of ak, to the top of the head. So we don't really talk about it, and we don't get into its detail. Now I can tell you that the Leshem and others do. I don't think it's really where I'm looking right now. But this, he says, we don't really talk about it that much. Now the second one is sag. The sag haklali, the general sag. It also gets divided up. So this aspect, which is called the sag haklali, so just imagine that you had a category from the ears downwards. This is going to be sag haklali. And if you saw it in a picture form, maybe it has it in the back, we have it other places, and that you would see that it surrounds the tamim. The tamim are panimi to it, and this is going to be surrounding. Shehem av the sag. There is a top part of the sag called the av. Nachlechas l'shlosha. It's divided into three. Shehem tamim al yonim.
He has a picture of it in the back.
Okay, good. Shehem av the sag. Nachlech l'shlosha shehem tamim al yonim. Vehem yatsu derek nikver naim da'ak, and they come out through the ears of ak. Tamim emsaim yatsu derek nikver chotim da'ak. This is a review of everything we saw already. But tamim atachtonim, and then the lower ones yatsu derek peh da'ak. So the point is, and we're going to go into it more, is that you have the three different points here: the ozen, chotim, and the peh. But bechinas ozen v'chotim, those two, yatsa oras bilvad, only you have lights going out. The velon is galasham bechinas kalim. There's no kalim revealed there, because we know the rule is for kalim to be created. The same thing as children, the same idea, that you have to have a banging effect of the opposites. Of a peh da'ak, inside of the mouth da'ak, his chila his gala bechinas kalim. Amlon this galu sham as sara kalim nifradim, but you don't see it like that. Ela kol oros koya kudim v'kashurim, they're all bound up. B'kli echad. V'chochem nikru olam akudim. So therefore, that's called the world of binding. So that's apparently a postulate, or what we say that for the light to develop or to reach lower worlds, which is us, it has to be bound. That's the first thing, is to bound different lights together, bind them together. So now the three different aspects of the tamim of the nekudos. The Nizgala Olam HaKudim, and we have already the Olam HaKudim has come out. Hiskil Hisgalos Orishal Olam HaKudim, which is the sag, not the tamim the sag, which is the ozen chotim peh, but the sag. The nikrach of the gam came the nekudos. Sheyatza derech hanayim da'ak. Shul bebechina the nekudos. V'yesh benosem tam lama nekudos nifrados v'lo kli echad. So why are the nekudos separated? They're not in different, in one kli. Kuba olam akudim. V'yesh od tam zeh, and there's another reason in this. The fi sheba olam nikudim hoya kelim ketanim. The kelim that we're going to be talking about are ketanim. Ma'od ka'ayin a nikuda. It's like a dot. So we have this concept of dots. Machmas kutnam nishbru, and because their dots were so small that they broke. Shelo choy b'kocham, this bowl as the oris agadolim, because you're coming bring down with great lights, and the idea is really bismat the light, bismayit the light. But you can't do that if the kalim can't hold the light. When we get to that, shehu olam atikun, the saknem akalim v'nignigdu luchu ba'oven sheyesh b'kocham, this bowl as the oris and his labshim b'ahem. So this is the basic principle here that we're talking about, is the building a system. We have to understand the, I don't know if you call it system or the olamos that existed to begin with. Number Gimel, Amnam, he says, he doesn't explain
why Olam HaBrudim is called Olam HaBrudim. I'm guessing we'll explain that later.
Okay, this is a lousy speaker, so on this.
Sorry.
Let's go. Go ahead.
I said, just noting that he does not explain why the Olam HaBrudim is called the Olam HaBrudim.
Good. Okay.
Meaning he explained why the Akudim is called that and why the Nikudim is called that, but not why Rudim is called Rudim. I'm guessing he's going to talk about that when we get to that shot.
Well, what do you think Barud means? I mean, it's interesting that you're saying that. So I know he doesn't talk about it like that, but because you'll see later on, it's going to be the Inyan of Machodesh. So, which I've learned some secrets about Machodesh this week or the last couple of weeks about that, but. Yeah. Why is it called Barudim? So we have to look up the word Barud. What does it mean?
I'm not even sure what the word Barud means. I mean, the closest word that I can think of is like Barad.
Right. So, okay, well, I don't know. I don't have a phone. I don't have a dictionary to look it up. So that's what it is. Okay, so let's go to the light print. It says, Kodesh Aviris Akedim Dololim and Nikudim Koya Rak Shnei Shemos Shehem Av Sag. Excuse me. There were only two names, Av and Sag. V'shem Av is his lavish bekar kafta da'ak. V'shem Sag is lavish mechaznaim da'ak v'ad kapos roglov. V'lacha shvira v'atikun ischadshu shnei shemot nosafos, which are these two names, which are Ma and Ben. Now we do know about Ma and Ben because Ma and Ben are also mochi. But there's going to be something completely different over here about the Ma and the Ben, and particularly about the Ben, but both of them. And where do you find this Ma and the Ben? Well, Ma is normally found from the Tibur Lamata. So he said, Avak. So Ma minatibur the Aka Lamata ad Siyam Raglo. Gamoshi is bar b'shar Barudim. Later on, we're going to see that in more detail. Barudim, Perik Beis. So we already said that. So the tamim are divided into the achab. So he said, so we said that before. Which is clothed in from the eyes of Ak, so there specifically, there are four different parts of it. Tamin, Nikudas, Tagim, Osios, Hamaguvana Keneged Asam, Asmab. Now let me see the Tamin, Nikudas, Tagim, Osios. Okay. And they also correspond to the concept of Av, Sag, Mahu, Ben. Again, once again, Shehem Tamim Ad Yonim, Ayotzim Min Aznayim. Tamim Emsoim Yotzechem Min Achoitim, V'tamim Hatachtoinim Yotzim Min Apeh. Now this, I think he's talking about the Av the Sag. Let's see how it goes. Amna Bechinas and Nikudas the Sag, but now when you go to the Nikudas the Sag, Yotzim Derech Anayim Da'ak. That's what we said. V'tzark V'das, Shkal the Bechinas Halalu, Ikram Hu B'Benimius Ak. Their real root is inside of Ak. V'yotzach HaRasam, and so what you're talking about is actually the light itself is inside, but it goes out, L'chutz, Keneged, I think it's supposed to, the little misprint here, Keneged the Bechina Chapanimius. So he says, I don't know what Kenod, I don't know, I think it's a misprint. Pirush kafi shahabachinah halalu, habachinah halalu nechlachus bepnimius ak, so they're divided inside of ak. Kein nimsha giluyim b'chutz la'ak. So also, it flows out, or extends out, this, their revelation, you could see them outside of ak, kakom atamim, like we had before, the tamim melyonim, shedim shachab bepnimius ak, they're originally inside of ak, ad shivolis is a conchalo, and they go down until it reaches the chin. But so therefore, when they come out of the ear, Meirim ad shivolis is a kan. That's the place where it's located inside of ak. Kavishi is bar inyana the halon. We'll go into it more. Now I know that in the Chaim, or at least in Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, he goes into a lot more detail than this, and something to learn later. So for the Indian is like this. Hu hevel moed. So he says there's like air or vapor that comes out of the ears. Ki ima adam yaniach etzbo al nikver ha'ozen, v'yistom osach b'chozik, and he really closes up strong. Yargish kol chabara b'soch, he'll hear an echoing sound. V'zecha b'machmas, you hear the ocean. V'zecha b'machmas tenuas a hevel. This is because of the movement of the hevel that's coming out of the ears. That's all you see. It's just a very, very, it shows you how faint it is. That it wants to go out, but it can't. And take your finger away, you don't hear it anymore. Because there are 10 spheres that are going to come out of the ear, and that's what it is, but it's made out of vapor. Kan ba Rav levoyer as mitzius hashefach hayotze min haozen v'chachotim v'chapapecha anayim v'chanayim v'adam tachton. So now you have all four here. Uma anafgamina b'nehem v'besariach ezel loka. He said nuchul lahavim b'zecha k'tzas min ha'oras al yonim. So we can understand a little bit of the upper lights. Gevarnis boy la'el. So we already explained it above. We said that. It's really deeply in there so much, couldn't find it. So this is the opposite concept that we have in our world, where everything is bigger is better. Over here, everything is smaller is better. So the less that it is, then you see that it's a moed. From your ears, though nirgas shem ashum hevel, you wouldn't know there's hevel there. Zulus im yaniach ha'adam etzboel ha'nikveh ha'ozev v'yistam oso b'chozek. Sha'az nitan lahargish kol ha'bara, then you can hear that sound in there. B'socha, that's in there. Ki tenuas ha'ozem bifnim, rotza that says ve'ena yochel that says it wants to get out but it can't. You take off the fan. He's just really rereading the Rav. Lo yargish as a hevel klal v'hu ya'an ki hevel aznaim ne'elam b'yosa. So we understand it. Now he says the hevel. What do you say about the? Yeah, so the hevel ozen hu bebechinas atamim ayonim. It's the concept of the upper tamim. Bepratuso hu kolol eser spheres. And if you look at it specifically, look into it more deeply, you'll find a 10 in there. So then after that, there is a more hevel, which is more physical. And from that hevel, which is a little thicker, he says that you can get the nostril, the breathing of the nostril, niska, the el. He said, so after that, the tamim emseim come out. They're less in their quality than the tamim elyonim. So therefore, the place they come out there, which is the nose, so you can see where he's going here. The fish are called Masha or Yored as it moves down away from the original entrance of, let's say, of the Kav into the Chalal. It starts moving downwards, it gets more morgish. Lamata hu nikr v'nirgash yosech midisgalu sham, and it's revealed over there. And b'sham yatzach asara the sara they come out the Nikudim. Ve'edach shlosha makomos ein bebechinas the tamim shal sag. These are the tamim of sag. What about the Nikudas of sag? That's where we're going to go. V'achar kach yatzach atamim atachtonim shehem pechusim b'ma'alasim af min emseim. V'lechein b'makam yetziyasu shuhu b'peh da'ak shesham hiskilach b'vayas hakelim sham ehela morgash hevel morgash yoser mikol ha'chovalim and niskarim ki kakol shaha'or yored in mispashat lamata, because of the more that the light goes down and it spreads, Kain hu misava v'karach v'yosa the hasigo, and it gets closer to be able to reach it or to appreciate it. Ve'einu ne'alam kol kach, it's not so hidden. Kamosh bihi yosa lamala shehu bechalam godol betachlis azikuch. So this is like a big kind of idea of like an ekyad. It's gonna be, it's coming. You can see it coming, and it keeps manifesting itself more and more. That is in our mind's eye, because our physical eye, no way. B'sham yatzach asara oras the kudim. From here you get the lights of the akudim. Adkan is bar b'chin the tamin and the kudos shehim av the sag. So what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about the sag. V'achar kach min ha'ayim yatzach an akudah shel sag. So how does light get out of the eyes? V'lechein ein kol kach hevel nicker ba'ayin. So let's talk about hevel. There isn't any that you can really see from this. Kamo b'shloshim b'komos and his current like in the achap, where we could actually see something comes out, let's say one way or another. Ke'ein doima, or he says there is no similarity between the or and the kudas akatin gamol atamim, those minimal oros that are coming out. Achar kach bechinas hanekudas mepinimios ak, so the nekudas that are inside of the pinimios ak, derek nikver anayim, they come out of there. Hine gevarnis barak yaratamim hebe bechinas hevel. But the ficha nis chalka v'nis galsa hevel. So there's differentiations of how the hevel appears. It could be midas is galsa or a nizkar. Avacha bechinas hanekudim aim shayach bechinas hevel. There's no hevel here. There is no hevel. The ficha of afal pish mitzad bechinas hevel, that even though we understand that OTZROT the seis min al-naim, you should have hevel coming out of the eyes. Hevel yoser godol should be even more, because we want to say the ozen chotem peh is the highest level, and that interesting enough, that the eyes would be a lower level. He said, well, that's what it should be. It should be more physical. Yoser godol bebechinas ozen chotem peh. Shahara olam and the kudim bechinasu yoser the mata mecholamos shel achab. So he says the olam and the kudim, its aspect is lower than Tamim shel achap, mikol makom kevin shuhu medrega pechusa min hachap v'chein ein be'anayim bechinas hevel nirgash. So I'm not sure how that logic works together, but at any rate, there's no hevel nirgash. Rak hevel moed, just a minimum amount, and maybe he'll say a little bit more about it. Shein nirgash klal. So he says like this. Okay, we're really running out of time. This is number 9. Let's do number 9, and we could stop there.
Yeah, we'll finish that. Okay.
Aval im kol zeh matzina ketzas koach lihistachlus ba'ayim. So with all of this, there is a little bit of koach. There is some power, though, in looking at the eyes. Histakhlus. Kenira mechush teva be'inyan beitzas ayana. So the yana is, I think, a stork. And he says, he has this. It's apparently, I looked it up in Google. And apparently, it's true. It could be metaphoric, but it's actually fact, physical fact. So what does he say? He has an egg. It stares at this, and it has the ability to be able to change the egg. Bilti tishteshev al beitza, doesn't have to stand on the egg. The hamamat, the warm it up, kashara ofos. The zer yored he yos koach mamad v'istaklis al. So this is really teaching us about the power of looking at something. Now that's very interesting. Many years ago, there was a Chabad rabbi in Miami Beach. I was sitting across from him at a simcha, and he started staring at me. obviously what happened, and he stared quite a while there, obviously when that happens, you have a natural tendency to stare back. So then when you look back, so when you look back, I mean, his idea was to carve me into something that he wanted to do or whatever it was, but I'm a likely subject. But I didn't look at him really. I didn't really want to go that way. So I don't know what he was planning. But that's a power that you have too, and I have too. If you really look at somebody, really look hard, they'll look back at you. Would that make an egg turn into a stork? I don't know. So this concept of looking at something is the Inyan and the Nikudim. Haram bevor shagam bechanayim yesh eze koich b'staklus. Hagam she'ein be'anayim ela rak hevel moed she'ein nirgash, except that it has something off the radar. Im kol zicha b'yesh ketzatz koich, but there's a little power in there. V'hashva v'hashefa be'etzim histaklus ayin, that really comes from looking what goes on in the eyes. Kamo she'ano roen b'chosh, like we see. We could sense that. Sheyesh koach be'enei ha'ova nikvacha b'basa yayin, which is called this is called the stork. L'chamem as beitzeho l'holde b'chem efrochim. So he says, Agam shuhu lo yosheves alecha begufa. It's not making them warm. Avo histaklos achalabetza. Zman ma bokech afroch memenu. V'zel v'tovin sheyesh koch mitzius ruchni bechanayim. So there is some kind of a spiritual power in the eyes. Afal pi she'ein kol kach hevel nicker b'ayim, even though you don't see that hevel. Mekoch istaklus azu shel hanayim yatsa olam hanikudim. Adkan, thank you for learning with me today.
Thank you so much. Sorry about the confusion, I guess.
It wasn't your fault. I dropped my phone. My phone. This is the second time this has happened. They're supposed to deliver the phone between 5 and 7. Now, in regards to astrology, to your birth chart, I don't know how interested you are in that. I learned from about.
What you said.
Yeah, because all you got there was the birth chart. If you can't really, you don't know the signs, which is academic, you can learn them. And in any book that you find, here's the thing that you have to know about this. And I have a book for you. Well, I even ordered another one. Sefer. It's a deep sefer. It's not, see, because astrology is related to Kabbalah. It's all the same kind of thing. To see how they relate together. So this book I learned with a man by the name of Yaakov Cronenberg. His solar birthday was one day before mine, so we had a lot in common in terms of, he's a very mellow guy. And he really worked hard on this book. It's called Jewish Astrology, a Cosmic Science. He explains there a basic principle, just to get started, is that the Goyim, the basic astrology of the lower 7 spheros, which is the Lechet, the orbiting planets that were in our solar system. He says that all astrology has had this since the time of Avraham Avinu or before. So this is something that came from way, way, way back. The difference between us and them, and he brings this out, it's just really beautiful. There's lots more to see, but later in the book, is that we have, those are 2 levels. He calls it the level of Zun, say for example. So basically, what happens is in Indian astrology, which is a real big time thing in India. So for example, if they follow the planets, and they see, for example, that you have Saturn coming up on your XYZ, whatever it is, and Saturn is a detrimental planet. Or it could, let's say, not detrimental, but it's more depressing. It's going the other way instead of expanding. You would pray to Saturn. You would pray to some power that has to do with Saturn. That's idolatry. So that's what they do. But we have a different idea. We have 3 levels beyond that. We have the level of Yud-K, Vav-K and its permutations. And we have the level of Adni and Ekya and their permutations. All of those things have different manifestations in our world, and they don't have it at all. They don't know about Yud K Vav K. Paro says, he's a master astrologer. It's really big time. And all this witchcraft that he used in order to be able to make his astrological understandings work, which is part of this book. He still didn't know the name Yud K Vav K. Okay, he knew about Din because if you know about Saturn, then you know about Din. But anyway, that's all in this book. It's just an idea. He starts out the book where he wants to prove the difference. It was we have a lot of people that are absolutely against learning astrology, Jewish astrology, and he wants to go in. He wants to explain to us what Jewish astrology is and why it's not avodah zarah. Anyway, I have that book.
Sounds like a fascinating topic.
Well, you've heard of the Sefer Yetzirah, right?
Sure.
Okay, so the Sefer Yetzirah was written by Avram Avinu. So it goes all the way back to the base way of counting things. So it turns out like this: the name Yud K Vav K, any four-letter word can be translated or permuted into 24 different words. But in this case, since there are two Hays, however it is that the Sefer Yetzirah,
You can only get 12.
That's right. And that's the big number. 12 tribes, 12 constellations. 12 is a big deal. So he gets into all of that. Stuff like that. I really don't understand Sefer Yetzirah so well. He says if you want to learn Sefer Yetzirah, you have to go to the Gra. So I haven't done that yet, but maybe when you're done with this, you want to do that.
Sounds interesting. Yeah. I know my great-great-grandfather's sefer, the B'nai Yissaschar, at the beginning of each month, he always quotes the Sefer Yetzirah that has the tzera of the Shem Havaya.
Oh, he does.
That month, and then he says the pasuk that it comes out of, and he usually quotes a line from like the Arizal about that.
Well, maybe we'll look at that. I know that Cronenberg certainly knows that sefer. I looked at it many years ago. I wasn't ready for it, so I didn't really make heads or tails out of it. Well, at any rate, that's for future. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
If I get a chance, I'm going to bring you that book, and you could take a look at it. Yeah. Okay, call too. Thanks for learning with me.